Guten Morgen, Guten Tag, my name is Manaya and welcome back to my channel. The way my last two videos on the Pretty Liars series has been pretty on par with the timeline of the book, I accidentally was on par with them. Like, the first book took place in September and that's when my first video came out, and then I procrastinated, so my second video came out in October, which was on par. It was on point with the third book and the fourth one. So, but today we'll be discussing a new arc 2. Unfortunately, book 5 and 6, arc 2, takes place in January, and you know what? I thought that might be a little too much. That would be crazy if I waited till January to release this video. I was like, let's continue no. These two books that I'll be discussing today, book 5 and 6, Wicked and Killer, are weirdly different. They have a different vibe than the rest of the books that I read, like the other 4 books. And I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the fact that it's a new arc, a new A, or the fact that, I said this before, but books 1 till 4 were actually similar to the show. I remember hearing about that before I read the book. Somebody said that the first 4 books were like the first 2 seasons of the show, until the show decided to go their own route and like stray away from the books. Though I will say, when I'm talking about the books today, there'll be a few plot lines that you'll be like, that sounds similar. I've heard of that before. Yeah. yeah. There's a few things that that I see what the show was doing. Like, it's actually interesting. It could literally be its own video, because there's some like moments from even the books from the first one till now. There's some things that like didn't completely get adapted into the show, but the show did some things that I feel like were Easter eggs for the books. Like, I don't know how to describe it. There were just a few things that weren't like completely taken from the book, but definitely had similarities, like, oh, that's where they got that from. And I think as we further venture in, like I said, that it's going to be a separate entity from now on. Like, from what I understand and from what I read, you will not be seeing as much similarities as you saw before in the show, because the show was its own thing. God, I really hope they don't have Ravenswood in these books. I hated Ravenswood. I thought that was the dumbest arc. Why did we have to make it supernatural? What was that? Never watched that show. I'm not planning on it, unless you guys tell me to. I'll do reviews. But no, the dumbest arc. But you know what? This is a long intro. Let's just get into it, because I scripted this out, because I was like, you know what, I don't want to like, because the last time I didn't script it out like I did my first video, and I talked way too much. I hate that video. I looks great, but I hate that video. I think in the future I should redo the second video. Anyways, I didn't script it at all, so it was a mess. So I was like, no, I'm gonna go back to scripting. I obviously didn't want to tell you every single detail, because half of them don't add up. Like, I don't know why they added that in there, that it does not follow up with anything. So, you know, it's like pretty short and pretty concise. Tell me why it's 10 pages. It's so funny, because when I'm reading these books, I'll take notes on what happens, so I don't forget. And I remember when I was taking my notes, I was like, I feel like this is not enough. I feel like maybe I'm like forgetting something. Like, I'm not forgetting, and I would just feel like maybe I'm not explaining something enough, because it seems so short when you write in the notes. And then once I put it in the script, like literally copy and pasted it in the script, it looks so much longer. It's 10 pages. I'll talk fast. Anyways, it's literally like 5 minutes already into the video. I'll talk fast. Anyways, let's just get into this. It's a long ass script. Anyway, the flashback for book 5 is Rosewood Day has this game. the time capsule, which I thought was, when I heard the name, I was like, oh, it's like they bury something like memorable so they can dig it up 10 years later. No, because that would be too logical. And these are rich people, so they're weird. The time capsule is the Principal Appleton, cuts up pieces of the school flag and they hide it around town. Not even around school, just around town. Sure. Anyways, and so the game is they have to find pieces of the flag and decorate it or whatever. And then when the last day of the event happens, they bring them up, they stitch the flag together, and then they bury it as a time capsule. This must be a boring town because everyone is very excited for this game. Turns out 6th graders are like the minimum age requirement to play this game. So the flashback starts about a week into the 6th grade school year. The girls are not friends, obviously. They're all like separated pretty comically, actually. The funniest part is the only one without a friend is Arya. It's not that funny. It's just very interesting because they're all like talking to a friend because they just saw the flyer for the time capsule. And then there's Arya in the back just drawing. She literally talks about how her teacher made her leave the classroom because she was in art class and her teacher told her to leave because she was like alone and had no partners. I would quit that school that day. Anyways, so they see a flyer for the game like being announced. And Allie, who's still friends with Naomi and Riley at this point, sees the flyer, like goes up to it and loudly exclaims that Jason, her brother, her hot older brother, knows where one of the flags is hidden and has promised to tell her where it is. And then Ian comes up to her. Mind you, Ian is 16 in this and she is 12. And he kind of like banters with her and he's kind of like, oh, I'll steal the flag from you. Ooh. And she's like, over my dead body. And he's like, if that's what it'll take. And then Jason shows up and he's like overprotective over her. Understandable. I don't know which part would make me protective of my sibling. The 16-year-old flirting with my 12-year-old sibling or saying, yeah, I'll totally kill you. Ooh. Let's take a chill pill. Yeah, anyways, that's where the flashback ends. It's just Jason getting into a black car and leaving after he makes Ian leave. And Arya draws this event in her sketchbook. So the present time starts months after the whole Mona thing is done. It's January. The girls have been hanging out all winter break. Apparently their parents finally realized their parents and pulled together to get a grief counselor for the girls, like a group therapy. And this therapist, unlike the one in the show, is actually good at her job. I didn't like Dr. Ann Sullivan. And I'll say it. This therapist actually suggests that the girls stick close to one another and hang out. Correct. That's something I hated in the show. I never understood the idea of separating 4 girls who are trauma bonded to one another as they are the only ones who understand what they went through and telling them you can't hang out, ban them from hanging out, when you know damn well the whole town's calling them liars and ostracizing them. Who was gonna sit with them at lunch if not each other? I hated that therapist. She had so many missteps. I could literally make a whole video on everything she did wrong. And as a psych major, I would know. But no, really, I hated that woman. But this doctor is like, no, you guys should stick close, you know, you understand what you went through, hang out. And she suggests this kind of spiritual burying of Allison as a final chapter to say goodbye to her. She suggests that they bury something connected to Allison that they have as a way to finally say goodbye, and then to bury it in the spot where Allie was last seen. It's not her like murder spot, but it is near the barn, so I guess that's the idea. So Spencer buries the friendship bracelet, the iconic friendship bracelet, and she tries to bury this picture of Allison that she got from the yearbook, because I mentioned in the second video that they were setting up an in memoriam for Allison in the yearbook, and it's one of the pictures that didn't make it in. It's this picture of Allison and Noel. It's not that important. I'll tell you this right now. Emily does not let the picture get buried. She's like, no, keep it, la la. So they keep it in Spencer's media room. Yeah, they're that family. And all the girls keep looking at this photo, and I thought I would mention it in the script, but I had to cut it out because I kind of realized, especially writing it down, it really doesn't go anywhere. It really adds nothing to the story. I thought it would. Add some. It did not. It had nothing to do with anything. So, yeah. Emily buries this pink quilted purse, this wallet coin, with an E embroidered on it that Allison got her. Hannah buries her. So, you know how students can peer review one another? It's Allie's assessment of Hannah's oral report of the Tom Sawyer book report. And Arya buries the drawing she made from the flashback of Allison and Ian. Speaking of Ian, if you remember, got arrested at the end of book 4 because when Mona was trying to drive Spencer off the cliff, she mentioned that she knew all their secrets because when Allison died and her stuff was put on the curb, when Maya's family moved in, she found Allison's old diary. And Allison's diary, on the last page, her last day, mentioned how she gave an ultimatum to Ian to either break up with Melissa or she would tell everyone that they were dating. And so the girls reported that to the cops. The cops found that as plausible evidence, especially after Spencer finally remembered the memory her brain had been blocking for 3 years, which was that she saw Ian and Allison the night that she died. And so they arrest Ian, and he, in the end of book 4, was on trial. And the end of book 4, they set a bail hearing, and the judge is like, no bail for you. Well, they changed their mind on that because in the beginning of book 5, they let him out on house arrest because his mother has cancer and is serious enough, so they let him out on house arrest so he could be there. Does that sound familiar? After he's released, literally as he is released and getting into the car, the girls receive their first message from the new A. Mind you, this is chapter 10 out of 33. We're almost 1/3 into the book, and this new A is I should probably send a letter or something. This A is lazy as hell, and as further as I get into explaining this new arc, the beginning of this new arc, you'll understand what I mean. Mona worked. Because it was actually impressive. Mona was popular, an straight A student, and yet she had time to threaten people and stalk them. This A is lazy as hell. Charlotte De Laurentiis would never. Book 5 starts from Emily's chapter, and so if you remember in book 4, there was that whole thing of Emily's parents and trying to send her to conversion therapy and then sending her to the Amish instead. Well, they really turned that table around because Emily's parents might be the only good parents in the book series as of now. But that might mostly be because Ashley did move to Singapore. Literally, they are the only normal good parents in this book series. Though I will say Byron, not too bad. I think Byron's just not around enough for me to make a fair assessment of him. But yeah, so Emily's parents did come around to her being gay. They were very accepting. Her mom even got her Finding Nemo and was like, the fish is gay and you're gay and you both swim. Dr. Phil really helped them realize that gay is okay. I mean, even her homophobic siblings turned around. Like Carolyn, her older sister that she lives with, she like stays in the same room with, got her a new Christmas gift of this female swimmer to replace her poster of Michael Phelps. And then her two older siblings that don't live with them pooled their money together to get her a collection of the L Word. And then like I think they even watched a few episodes with her. Like they really said, it's okay, we love you, you know what? We don't hate you anymore. Anyways, so Pam invites Emily to this event at the church, which Emily kind of considers a step forward, as you know, a few months ago Kathleen would have tried to like exorcise her. That's not what she says, but and when she goes to this event, there's this like band playing. It's like church band. I don't know if they're like affiliated with the church or they just sing at the church. I don't know. And she meets the lead singer, Isaac Colbert. Isaac, like any love interest in these damn books, is blonde with blue eyes. Can I just say, I went to high school in a predominantly white area. I mean, there was a lot of white people. My school did not have this many blonde people. Can I say not this many blonde people? I think maybe like 30 blonde people. Like it was a big high school. The amount of blonde people that show up in these books is absurd. And it's not just blonde, it's blonde with blue eyes. That is not that common. Where do you live? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not from Pennsylvania. Is that like that common? I'm from Boston. It's not that common. Is that common? If you're from Pennsylvania, comment. How many blonde, blue-eyed white people do you know? Like, is that a common occurrence? Because it actually, low-key, is pissing me off, but not in a serious way, in a kind of funny way, that every time there's a new character introduced, they're like, oh, your blonde hair and your blue eyes. Why? It's not even like green eyes, it's blue eyes. And that's what pisses me off. I just want to have blue eyes. Honestly, you don't even need to be blonde in this book to have blue eyes. Arya and Mike have blue eyes, and they're not even blonde. I thought blue eyes were a rarity, but not in Rosewood, apparently. Anyways, so when she meets Isaac, she's like instantly attracted to him, which confuses her because, as you remember, she came out as lesbian in book 3 and 4 after trying to date Ben and Toby and realizing like there's nothing there. Isaac, though, she is attracted to. So Isaac asked her to go sledding. Crazy ask on for a first date, but yeah, sure. Behind Hollis, after they're done sledding, he goes to get their tubes back, and that's when Arya calls Emily about her like note she received from A. After which, Isaac kisses her. And after that, she receives her own message from A, basically being like, keep your mouth shut, or I'm going to tell Isaac you're gay. What would Church Boy think about that? Because Isaac's not just like some singer in a possibly church-affiliated band. He also goes to a religious school. So, like, super Christian. And just for some reason in this book, all of A's threats is, I'm not even kidding, all the threats A has is keep your mouth shut or else. Shut the hell up or else. Like, it kind of feels like A has no like secrets to hold against these girls. I mean, A's threat for Emily's literally like, oh, I'll out you as lesbian. Doesn't this whole town know that? Everyone at her school knows that. Like, oh, well, I guess because Isaac doesn't know, she's like, oh, no, I can't let that happen. Like, girl, the whole town knows. Is that even a threat? Still, though, Emily does hide her sexuality from Isaac and goes on another date with him, in which Maya shows up and she like runs out of the restaurant dramatically, being like, I can't. And it's like continuously A being like, shut the hell up, or I'm gonna tell. A is like really scared about these girls going to Wilden. Like, okay, chill. It's not like Wilden's that good at his job. Ooh. Apparently, Isaac's father owns a catering company, and he's going to be catering an event at Spencer's house, the gala, a charity ball. And yeah, you guessed it. That's the big event, the party of the book. And she invites Isaac to be our date. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you have forgotten, now that I've read 6 books, I can confirm this confidently. There's always a party at the end of these books. There's always one party that they talk about in the beginning that happens at the end of the book. A party where they all like are in the same room, finally piecing together stuff. They're like, huh. It's the one time where they're actually honest with each other, being like, yeah, you know what, I did receive this letter. Because they literally in the beginning were like, oh my god, yeah, we should totally tell each other about what A tells us, and like, oh, they do not. They immediately disregard that promise. Even though A's threats are not even like that secretive, they just don't want to be honest. Yeah, and the party, the event of the book is always the one where they go like, so I did receive some threats. Hannah, if you remember, was hit by a car by Mona, who was A last 2 books. And not even like a small car, an SUV, which I accidentally called SVU. That's my bad. Anyways, and then after attending Ian's bail hearing, she finds out even more horrible news. Her mom's moving to Singapore. And her 2 choices were either she goes to boarding school or Tom moves in with Isabel and Kate into her house. Well, I guess she chose the latter. I'm sorry, I just really hate Tom and Isabel and Kate. Anyways, so they have so they have officially moved into our house, and for some reason, they do not understand that this is a temporary situation. They're like fully moved in. Isabel's acting like she owns this damn house. She paid the mortgage on her or something, because Hannah's chapter begins with her like talking to Lucas on the phone in the morning, and Isabel literally comes into her room and she's like, "Remember, no phone calls before the bed is made." Girl, this is not your house. Shut the hell up. That would have been my response. I would have been like, you're not my mom. You're not my mom. You're not even my stepmom by legality. You're just my dad's fiance. So, no, but is that not crazy, trying to parent this girl whose house you moved into? Like, I don't remember Ashley being like, or your dad and Isabel moves in and starts parenting you. Tom hasn't even parented Hannah in the 10 years that he has been absent. Why is this woman who has met Hannah twice before moving in trying to parent her, trying to be like, oh no, phone call. Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Thank God we don't have enough Isabel appearances in these 2 books. Thank God. Maybe like 3. Still too much. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of Tom appearances, So Kate starts attending Rosewood Day with Hannah. Mom is like, Hannah, be friends with her. She's lonely. Like, I don't care. Ask how much I care. And Kate is like, Hannah, do you want to get coffee together at Steam? Steam is the coffee shop they all hang out at, always. Because I guess it's next to their school. They won't stop mentioning this coffee shop every single book, so to be fair, it's usually Hannah's chapters. And she's like, yeah, sure. And when they go into the coffee shop, we see that Kate has befriended Naomi and Riley. Naomi and Riley, if you don't remember, were Allison's best friends before she dumped them in 6th grade and then befriended the liars. And then Naomi and Riley were also Hannah and Mona's rivals for popularity in the last few books. I don't know if I would consider them rivals as much, because honestly they were just really annoying, because as soon as Mona like befriended them when she was mad at Hannah, they like went along with it. So I think they're just really insecure people who have no friends at all. Like, girl, you hate someone, you immediately befriend them. What the hell? And then Kate tries to make nice with Hannah, because if you don't remember, in book 2, she Hannah went to dinner with her dad, but then Isabel and Kate showed up as like a surprise. And then Mona sent Hannah a text telling her that Sean, her ex at the time, was at the dance with another girl, Arya. And she was like, oh my god, I have to go back. And Kate was all like, oh my god, I would so have your back. Oh. And then Kate saw the perk set in Hannah's bag. It was like, can I have that? And Hannah, being the kind individual she is, was like, sure. And then instead of having her back, Kate did not have her back, and then was like, Hannah, give me drugs. And that kind of fractured Tom and Hannah's already fragile relationship. And so Kate is like, I was having a bad day. I obviously, I miss my dad, and I didn't want this guy being my dad. And to meet a new stepsister, and also my boyfriend dumped me after giving me an STD. We're all having bad times. I'm sorry. Would not have worked on me, because I would have thrown around, I don't know, my best friend ran me over with a car. That's somehow worse. Call me crazy, but is that not? Anyways, she's like, I'm so sorry I took that out on you. Can we be friends? Hannah's better than me, because I would not have taken her up on it. But she does say that if they were friends, they could be the queen bees of the school. And Hannah is lonely because she doesn't have Mona in her life. And she takes her up on it. And Kate is like, we should befriend Naomi and Riley, because then, there will be no rivalry. We can all be popular together. And Hannah does make nice with Naomi and Riley, and they like immediately befriend her, which adds to my sentiment of they must be really lonely and insecure. Like, they were trading insults for 4 books. They did not like each other. But immediately she's like, yeah, let's be friends. They're like, oh my god, yeah, let's be best friends. This is embarrassing for you. This is embarrassing for you. You're embarrassing yourself. You have no backbone. Not that I want them to be fighting, but I think it's like interesting, because spoiler alert, it's not like a fake friendship at all. From the 2 books I've read about this, I'm pretty sure they are legitimately friends with her. Especially Riley. So it's like, what? All she had to say was, yeah, my bad. And they were like, okay, let's be best friends. Like, what? So as expected, as soon as she does get a click and is suddenly the queen bee again, Hannah does start avoiding Lucas a lot more. She talks about these things that she thought was cute before are kind of embarrassing now. Like how when he comes up to greet her when she's with her friends now, he literally, I guess he ate a donut before, because a little bit of the frosting was on his nose, and she was like, before I would have thought this was cute, but in front of my friends, this is embarrassing. And unfortunately, I agree. You're 17 and you can't clean your nose after you eat a donut. Not even like a powdered donut, like frosting. Pink frosting. As someone who's ate a donut before, you didn't feel, oh, that's just embarrassing. That's just dirty behavior, low-key. Because she says this happens a lot, not the donut thing, but him being a little messy. She's like, I feel like I should tuck his shirt in or something, which is how messy is this man? Ooh, that would have pissed me off. When she befriends Naomi and Riley and Kate, and they're like, "Oh, let's go shopping now that we're best friends." A sends Hannah a message being like, "Shut the hell up, or I'll run you over with my car." And then is like, "By the way, Kate's not your friend. Don't trust her." Which I gotta say is as another sense of deja vu. There's a lot of deja vu going on in these two books. Because if you remember, in book 3, when Mona and Hannah were in a fight, and then Mona befriended Naomi and Riley, and then as soon as they like leave River Gosh, Hannah received a message from Mona, being but as A being like, "Oh, don't trust Mona." Again, there's a lot of messages that are like, "Oh, somebody's not original." Anyways, Hannah does disregard that. She's like, "This new A is weird." By the way, in these books, especially book 3, especially with Hannah, for the first while that they receive these A notes, they don't really believe them, because after like the whole Mona and A thing went down, in the aftermath, the whole A thing became very popular, and actually it spread worldwide. Like there was like A's popping up in different places, though the girls note that these A's were mostly just like jealous exes, old friends, whatever. They weren't like as crazy as Mona. But the girls had also received their own prank A's, so they don't really believe this A. I mean, I wouldn't either if the only threats you have is shut your mouth. Like what happened to secret spilling? Okay. Though, at some point, some of them do, well, especially also Hannah too. But at some point, they do start believing that this A might be low-key legitimate, and they assume it's Ian because they did receive a text altogether when Ian was released, and like in the news footage of him going into his car when he was released, he like puts his hand in his pocket, so they're like, "Oh my god, he texted us." This new A continuously keeps texting her like, "Oh, Kate's lying to you, she's not your friend." And then when Ian's first day of trial happens, he does not show up. He has escaped custody. What kind of shoddy police work is happening in this town? And then Hannah has this like paranoia that Kate might, not be her friend. Because I could barely follow her logic here. She was kind of like, it's weird that A knew about Kate being at that event when she like ditched to go to the Foxy, because she even didn't know Kate was going to be there. Why did Mona know that? Would it be possible that Mona knew Kate and had reached out to her, and and then she's kind of like, probably not, right? I'm freaking out, right? And then she goes to her house, and then she hears Kate through the door like saying some suspicious stuff, like, "The time is almost coming, la la," and then like cackles, and she's like, "That's not normal." Normal people do not cackle. I agree. Arya has now returned to live with her mother. If you don't remember, Ella, an adult in her 40s, blamed her 16-year-old daughter for the sins of her father, another adult, and then kicked her out in book 3. And Arya had to live with her at the time boyfriend Sean, who then kicked her out because she cheated on him with Ezra. I mean, I guess you could say she did, but at the same time, she's a victim, so no. And then she had to move in with her father and Meredith in their like little apartment. And then when the whole A thing was revealed on the news, Ella was like, "Oh, come live with me, my daughter. I didn't know you were going through this." Ella has now started dating in this book. She signed up for like Match.com and found a match for herself. And so she is driving Mike to his date with his new and first girlfriend, Savannah. And so she gives her invitation or tickets to Arya for a new artist gallery that's happening. And so she goes to it, and she meets this new up and coming artist, Xavier Reeves, who is 34. Yet he flirts with Arya, who is 16. If this was the show, this would have they would have been like, that's fine. I don't see an issue with that. But no, it's weird. It's definitely weird. And as luck would have it, the next day when Ella's Match.com date shows up to pick her up on their date, it is Xavier. Her date is Xavier, the man who flirted with her minor daughter. Xavier then does officially meet Mike and Arya at this like vegetarian vegan restaurant called Rabbit Rabbit. Weirdly enough, Xavier and Mike actually get along, mostly because Mike hated Iceland, and Xavier's like, yeah, me too. Oh, for sure, yeah, me too. He doesn't. Yeah, saw that coming. Yeah. But he does lie to, be friends with Mike, and it works. And then when Mike goes to pick up a phone call, and then Ella goes to the bathroom, Xavier and Arya are left alone at the table. And this restaurant has these drawing mats where they encourage, like these placemats, they encourage their customers to draw on them, and then they put the drawings on like the walls and stuff. And so for the last, some kind of food, I forgot what it was, on the table, Xavier and Arya are like, let's have a minute drawing competition for the food. And then Arya draws this old man at the counter, and Xavier draws Arya. And in that moment, Nouveau A is like, ooh, I saw that. And she sends her a picture of Arya at the artist gallery. And now at the table, a picture of her flirting, mentoring with Xavier. And she's like, ooh. And Arya like freaks out. She's like, oh my god. And she like takes the drawing Xavier made of her and like runs away. The next day, Xavier is at their house for breakfast, even though Ella is not there. And Mike leaves early to go ogle Kate and Hannah at Steam with Noel. Is this like an activity they do as a group? Apparently the lacrosse boys do everything as a group activity. Weird. Strange. By the way, Mike's full name is Michelangelo. It adds nothing to the story, but I kind of forgot that until they mentioned it. Huh. Anyway, so when they all leave, Xavier and Arya are left alone at the house, and Arya kind of feels awkward because she kind of felt like they were flirting at the new artist gallery, but now he's dating her mom, so that's a little weird. But he offers to drive her to school, and because her mom took their only car, she's like, yeah, sure, that's better than the bus. And in the car ride, she thinks he's gonna talk about like the awkwardness between them because of the flirting, but he's more like, yeah, I know it's weird having your mom date someone before you guys are like, her parents are fully divorced. And she's like, oh, okay, that's what he thinks the awkwardness is. Oh, okay, guess I was a little crazy for thinking he was hitting on me. During the car ride, Arya has a flashback to 6th grade when she had a huge crush on Jason De Laurentiis. Understandable, because if I'm being honest, from the book description of Jason, I don't even know why they casted the first guy, because I feel like Sasha and Drew were like made for these characters. Like, they are the perfect book description, like, actress for them. And so she had a crush on Jason. So when so the liars met when they all came into Allie's backyard to steal her flag, but they found that the flag was already stolen when they got there. And Arya says that technically she came there to steal the flag, but mostly to see Jason. And so none of the girls actually know who stole the flag to this day, because apparently that piece of the flag was never turned in. But Arya does know, because spoiler alert, the person who stole the flag was Jason. And then when she was going back home, Jason saw her in the woods and he like handed her the flag, no combo. He just handed it to her and like ran away. and she was gonna turn it in, but then Allison befriended them, and then it felt too awkward, and then so she just still has the flag. Later, when Arya and Mike are hanging around in the basement watching the TV, and he's playing with his Wii 2, he leaves to take a phone call. Again, is texting not a thing in 2007? It was. Well, I wouldn't know. I was a youth. I was actually a toddler in 2007. Crazy, I didn't have a phone. But he just keeps leaving the room for like phone calls, and I'm just like, text? Skype? What happened? Yeah, which leaves Xavier and Arya alone in the basement, and Xavier kisses Arya, which she's not into at all, so she leaves. Too many adults are into this girl. This event, because it is so weird, Arya starts avoiding Ella because Ella is constantly with Xavier, and Mike kind of notices the awkwardness, but he thinks it might be Arya's fault, so he's like, just make up with him, la la. But Arya thinks it's like really weird, and she kind of wants to move in with Byron and Meredith because she's so scared that A is going to try to make it seem like Arya was the one that hit on Xavier, and like she doesn't want to ruin her mom's relationship with her again. Wow, Ella's parenting is so wow. That awkward moment when your teenage daughter is afraid of telling you your boyfriend's a predator because you blamed her for the sins of her father. Last but not least, we have my girl Spencer. So it turns out, if you don't remember, in the last book, Spencer had plagiarized her sister's paper, her econ paper, and gotten nominated for an award for the paper. Spencer's last chapter in the last book, she gets a phone call from the award committee, and we don't know if she won or not. She did win, but before she could accept the award, she was kind of like, I have to confess something. She confessed because she felt guilty. If I'm being honest, and I might sound like a horrible person for saying this, I would not have confessed. I would have taken the award. Because think about it, it's not like she plagiarized some random person's paper. She plagiarized Melissa's paper. Maybe just Melissa was not smart enough to make it in the award herself, but Spencer was. And also, it's not like A was gonna tell on her. This was after Mona died and was revealed as A. Like, girl, nobody was gonna snitch on you. Like, her parents and Melissa knew she plagiarized, and yet they were still like, yeah, go for it, win the award. No one was gonna tell. Why would you tell? I would have been like, thank you. I would have just taken the award. And you know what honesty gets her? She gets kicked out of all the clubs she's a member of. Mind you, that girl was members of many of the clubs. All that hard work for nothing. And then she almost gets expelled out of Rosewood Day, but her parents make a big donation, so she gets to stay. But now they have this like rule where they're like, oh, you must ace this class that you plagiarized in, or you'll get kicked out of it. See what honesty got her? In this universe, in the Pretty Liars universe, honesty gets you nowhere. There's no reason to be honest. Sometimes if you're going to get away with it, get away with it. Don't be honest. Don't confess. Keep it to yourself. Anyways, so her parents are very mad at her for confessing, for telling the truth, as am I. And so they will not pay for her tutoring. And as you remember, the reason she plagiarized the class paper was because she did not understand the class that well. So she asked Andrew to tutor her. And Andrew complies very happily. I bet he does. If you don't remember, because this was a while ago, they went to the Foxy together, and it was pretty obvious every time they interacted that Andrew had a big crush on Spencer. Like, it was very obvious. Too obvious, in fact. Though Spencer's parents are also mad at Melissa right now because apparently, well, because Melissa lied to the police for many years about Ian being with her, being his alibi, and then revealing that she actually slept through the night, so she didn't know if he was there or not that night, and also because recently she received a phone call from Ian, begging her not to testify at his trial, and she didn't tell anyone. And if you remember in the last book, the Hastings family took a trip to their grandma's beach mansion, actually. And that grandma died. And so at her will hearing, she leaves $2 million to her natural born grandchildren. And so she leaves $2 million to Melissa and 3 other grandchildren, and nothing, nada, not even a dollar for Spencer. And Spencer does consider this because she's like, well, Melissa is a carbon copy of her mom, and she's their favorite, and they're shade of blonde. Honestly, at this point, for a second, when she said the mom, like carbon copy of her mom thing, I was thinking, like, did I read this wrong? I thought Melissa was also blonde because she says like their hair color and whatever, and I was like, aren't you two both blonde? I forgot that blonde people have that whole like blonde hierarchy or whatever. Blonde people will get into the hex codes of being blonde. I have a blonde friend, and I remember talking about someone else with her, and I was like, well, they're blonde too, and she was like, well, technically they're a dirty blonde, and that's technically brunette. It really actually pisses me off. There's too many blonde people in this book. We ran out of hair colors real fast. Anyway, so she's kind of like, maybe I am. And when she and Andrew are having a tutoring session in the library, she kind of like breaks down, and she's like, yeah, maybe I'm adopted. And Andrew, though at first I thought he was just weirdly confessing his love for her, he literally says, I love you. And she's like, what? And he's like, no, I love you. It's a website for connecting adopted kids with their birth parents. And she signs up for it. After she logs into her email to get a confirmation of the sign up for the website, she receives an email from A being like, shut the hell up or else. Again, it's just shut up. Like literally Spencer's threats is anyone gonna miss you when you're gone? Do you want to find out? Like, shut the hell up. Before Ian escaped custody before his trial, he had actually escaped house arrest before, when he suddenly showed up on Spencer's porch pleading his case to her, being like, please believe me, it wasn't me, I didn't hurt Allison. She's like, how the hell did you get out of your house? Aren't there cops watching you at all? What? He tells her he did not do it, and that night that Allie disappeared, he remembered seeing 2 blondes fighting, and she at first thinks it's a dig at her, but he's like, no. And he talks about how Allison, they had always bantered, but she had never really, flirted wholeheartedly with him. She's kind of like kept him at a distance until one day there was like a switch. And then like she like actually did like him back, which I think he said the switch happened around 6th grade, which led me to ask the question, how long had they been flirting before? So the switch happened somewhere around 6th grade, but they had been flirting for a while. Like when she was in 5th grade and he was in 10. It's 6 and 11 are already bad. So it's like, whoa, you're confessing a whole lot of crimes here. Anyways, Spencer is like, well, I had a crush on you in high school. Maybe she did that because she, power struggle and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, I don't think that's it. It's something else. Well, Spencer doesn't tell anyone about Ian showing up at her house. Not that it's important or anything, but Spencer has a dream about Allison. Having a dream about Allison is like a cult that's going around this like town between the liars or something, because they always have a dream about Allison. They're like, she's sending me clues beyond the grave through my consciousness. Anyways, her dream is about two Allisons, sixth grade Allison from the flashback, and then seventh grade Allison, the one she knew. And they're both like, "You're missing something. Oh, there's something you're missing. It's in front of your face." Dream Allison is never helpful. She never just says what she needs to say. These dreams are so unhelpful. Ugh, girl, say the words. Now we get to the party of the event, the gala, where they're all finally gonna discuss what they know. Because I feel like they need to do this because they all have a piece of the puzzle, but they need to put it together to complete it. I respect the fact that there's always a party in these books. Like, it doesn't matter if a suspected murder is on the loose. Rosewood people are gonna have a party, a charity ball at that. At the gala, after being surrounded by so many classmates who are weird, Emily finally comes out to Isaac, and he's actually really accepting. This man is not just religious, he goes to a religious school, and he's actually very accepting of her. Crazy if the people that judged her were not even half as religious as him, and they were like, you're going to hell. And he's like, no, it's fine. You're bi? Yeah, that's chill. I won't judge. Hannah goes to the party with Lucas, and she kind of is, after like the cackle she heard from Kate and all the messages from A, she's like, she's gonna screw me over. Yeah, and I have to get her before she gets me, because remember, Allison had told Kate about Hannah's purging, so she's gonna reveal it to the whole school, which honestly kind of made me realize that Naomi and Riley are the only ones that know about this, and though they had been making cruel jokes about it to Hannah, they really could have told the whole school about this, and they didn't. Maybe they're really not that bad at people. Like, it's bad that they're doing it to her face anyways, but like, at least they're not like spreading her around school like wildfire. They're like, oh, this will be our little secret, you know? Anyways, and Lucas is like, oh no, you're too obsessed with popularity. Like, what does that even mean? Like, let it be, la la. So Kate is flirting with Eric Kahn, who was Mona's boyfriend, if you remember, and I gotta say, too much recycling of relationships in these books. Anyways, so Eric's kind of asking like about the origins of Kate and Hannah's relationship, and Hannah thinks, because Kate mentions that trip that Hannah took to meet her for the first time, she's about to talk about the bulimia thing, so she tries to get her first and is like, Kate has herpes. And everyone's immediately like, ew. And Lucas breaks up with Hannah because he's like, I can't believe you did that. You got her, huh? You're too obsessed with popularity. I liked you when you were normal. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Didn't he like her in 7th grade when she was popular with Allison and the Liars? And then again when she was, she was out on the outs with Mona, but she was still really popular. He has never liked her when she wasn't popular. It's not like he liked her in 6th grade before she befriended Allison. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Talking about I liked you when you were just you, not popular. You have never known her when she wasn't popular. What are you talking about? What? After this event, Tom shows up to the gala and grounds Hannah. He's like, from now on, you're only gonna hang out with Kate. If you don't, I'm gonna take away your car and then your designer handbags and on and on. You can't do this under my roof. Hannah's better than me. I would have called my mom immediately if my mom was Ashley. Like, this is Ashley's home. She got into the divorce. It's her home they're living in. The car is Ashley's old car that she gave to Hannah don't get stuck on the word old though. It's like a big like luxury car. It's a very nice car, but it's Ashley's car. It's Ashley's money that bought those designer handbags. Tom has sent no child support. They mentioned that. So you're gonna take away stuff that Ashley bought with her money for her daughter? You better watch yourself. That would have been the first words out of my mouth. I would have literally been like, watch yourself. Watch thyself. Let's also the punishment doesn't even make sense. Like Kate is like happy about it, but like what kind of punishment is, oh, I got you now. Oh, you have to hang out with me. Oh, got you. I got you. If I hate someone, I wouldn't want their punishment to be that they have to hang out with me. What a crazy punishment to be happy by. You're like, oh, guess you have to hang out with me, huh? What? What? Why? And then, when Hannah brings up the cackle thing and the suspicious stuff that Kate was saying, Kate is like, I was practicing for the play. I got cast as Ophelia from Hamlet. Hannah, I mentioned this before. I don't know why they dumped her down. I guess to make her nicer in the show, because Hannah in the books is actually very smart. She's actually in AP English with Arya and somehow Noel. I don't know how Noel got into that class, but yeah, she is in AP English, and she said she heard a lot of like Hamlet jokes. So during winter break once she read Hamlet, and she's like, I remember Ophelia, and those were not even close to her lines. That is not stuff she would say. She would not cackle, and she says that, and Kate's like, guess you caught me. Which kind of makes it seem like she wanted Hannah to be punished, so Hannah might have been right about her suspicions. I don't know, it's not fully out there, but also at the same time, why do you want her punishment to be she has to hang out with you? What? Veronica's still mad at Spencer for owning up to her plagiarizing, so she kind of like yells at Spencer when Spencer's trying to be helpful, and after this altercation, she and Andrew go to the media room to talk it out, and she gets a notification from the I Love You website, and they're like, we found a match for you, and she's like really happy, and then Andrew kisses her, and they just make out, and for some reason, this is Isaac and Andrew, for some reason, apparently have a cinnamony breath. Blonde, blue-eyed, and cinnamony breath. The amount of people in like, to put it into perspective, Andrew's blonde, blue-eyed, Isaac's blonde and blue-eyed, Lucas is blonde and blue-eyed. 3 out of the 4 love interests of this book is blonde and blue-eyed, and that's only because Arya broke up with Sean. If Arya was still dating Sean, blonde and blue-eyed. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways, Spencer finally, like, something clicks in her brain when she looks at that picture in the media room again, and she finally understands what dream Allisons were trying to tell her. So she's like, oh my god, I gotta dig up the grief bag that we buried. And she tells Andrew, like, if I don't come back in some amount of time, tell Wilden to look for me. So she goes to dig up the bag. So when she digs up the bag and like looks at the drawing that Arya had made of Ian and Allison from the flashback, she kind of is like, this is before we knew Allison was dating Ian, so this is like the most impartial drawing ever, because it's not like Arya had any opinions about Ian at that point. And she mentions how in the drawing Ian didn't look like malicious, even though he was like, oh, I guess I'll have to kill you to get the flag. He actually looked lovesick and dopey, while Allison looked disgusted, as she should be. This man was 16, flirting with a 12-year-old, or 17, flirting with a 12-year-old, and she's kind of like, huh. After her dating exposition, Spencer receives an email from Ian telling her to meet her in the woods where Allie died. She goes for some reason. At the party, Arya sees Mike and meets his girlfriend Savannah, who goes to a public school, And then she sees Xavier, and Mike is like, I invited Xavier. Like, make up. You're making stuff so awkward. Like, whatever you did, just say sorry. And she thinks that Xavier is gonna apologize for the kiss. No, that would be the normal response. Instead, Xavier is like, oh my god, you're giving me mixed messages. Like, what are we doing? Like, you want me or what? And she runs away from him to Spencer's room, and he like follows her and like tries to force a move upon her. And then he's like, when that doesn't work, he's like, well, you can't tell the truth because no one would believe you. Bar, Emily hears Melissa, Ian, and Wilden's old classmates discussing Ian, because ever since the whole news that Ian might have killed Allison comes out, and the fact that they were dating, they're all like, oh yeah, I guess he is. Like, mind you, before this news came out, Ian was this town's like golden boy. Like, he was the it boy. And now they're all like, yeah, I guess it does make sense he would do that. And so they were talking about how like weirdly into it he was when they were doing dissection of, I was either a rat or a frog. And one of the girls was like, okay, but what about Darren? Like, he was way too into it. Like, ugh. And Emily's like, Darren. Oh, wait, isn't that Wilden's name? Oh, yeah, I guess he was their classmate. And then Wilden comes up to her and is like, have you seen Spencer? Because it's been some time, has passed and Spencer's not around. And she's like, no. And so she goes up to Arya and Hannah and she's like, guys, have you seen Spencer? And they're like, no. What's going on? And then A sends them a message that's like, better look toward the barn. This might be the last time you see Spencer. And they're like, what? All because they told Wilden about the new way. Before they received this news being like, say goodbye to Spencer, Hannah actually finally reveals what one of her messages from A revealed was that A is also from Rosewood. For the suspicious message threatening Spencer's well-being, the girls run outside to go find Spencer in the woods. Mind you, it was raining, so, well, not right now, but it was raining before, so it's hella muddy. Yeah, and they're in like gala dress and makeup. It's just a funny comical image to imagine. So anyways, Hannah slips on the mud and she's kind of like tells the other two to go ahead. And when she's alone there for a second, she sees this figure she says looks Grim Reaperish with a hood over like their face, who goes like shh before sliding back in the woods. And she's like, that was weird. And then they hear a scream and they find Spencer with Ian's body. And then they receive a text from A saying he had to go. Then we move on to book 6. So book 6's flashback, like I said, it's actually connected to the one from book 5. It's weirdly an event they've actually already discussed. It's from when they went to Allie's backyard to steal her flag, and they saw each other and they're like, what are you doing here? It's kind of like a Spider-Man meme. And they hear they hear Allie and somebody like mocking her voice, like she'll say something and they'll repeat it in a high-pitched tone. They hear Jason yell like stop and then or something, and then like he runs out of the house, and then Allison sees them even though they're hiding behind the bushes, and she's like, you guys can come out now. Somebody already stole my flag. And she tells them how she decorated it, and she's kind of like talks to them for a little bit, and it's like the first time she's really interacted with them. And then like she goes back to her house, and they kind of think nothing will happen of it, but then a week later she has a fight with Naomi and Riley, drops them, and then a little bit later she befriends the liars at this event, and that's the start of a truly awful friendship. Anyways, and that's the flashback. In the present time, the girls run to get Wilden to tell him that they found Ian's body, but they mentioned that it took a little bit time to find him. And then when they do find him, he's acting a little bit shifty. And in book 5, actually, when they kept telling him, like, we're receiving messages from the new A, he kept being like, oh, it's probably a copycat. It's probably not real. Don't worry about it. It's probably just Ian. He actually told Emily at the bar before he asked if she knew where Spencer was, that he didn't really believe it was Ian, that Ian might have not done it. I don't know. That man's so suspicious. Anyways, when they go to show him where Ian's body is, they can't find it. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll get a team together. Oh, it's gonna take a little while. We might not be able to do it tonight. Oh, procedure. And they're like, what procedure, sir? There's a dead body missing in the woods. What are you talking about? So the cops search for the body in the woods, but they can't find it. And after a week or two of searching, they instead give up and go on the news to call the liars. Well, liars. They literally say they probably lied, and they bring up some kind of crackhead psychologist who's like, yeah, they're probably addicted to attention. That's probably why they lied. Mind you, these are adult people calling these 17-year-olds who have been traumatized by someone threatening them constantly and the death of their best friend. They're just going on the news publicly calling them liars. Yeah, I don't know. Spencer's parents are lawyers. I would have sued. That would have been my first thought. Originally, the order of the book starts from Spencer's chapter, but her story is a little disconnected from the others, so I'm actually going to mention her a little later, and I'm going to start with Arya instead. So after the slimy actions of Xavier, Arya decides to move in with Byron and Meredith, even though at Byron and Meredith's apartment she doesn't really have a room. She kind of sleeps behind a curtain in Meredith's studio. But lucky for her, because Meredith's pregnant and the separation's going on, Byron actually buys a house behind Spencer's neighborhood, her house. They share woods. Unfortunately, though, this house is also 4 doors down from Ian. She's excited she'll finally have a room, and because she didn't tell Ella about the whole Xavier situation, Ella's kind of like, my daughter, why did you leave? What happened? You left. And she keeps begging Arya to come back. And when Arya sends a U-Haul to pick up some of her stuff from Ella's house, Ella's all sad about it. And then Ella actually sends her an invitation for the opening of this hotel because her art was chosen to be displayed in the lobby, and she's like, you should come. What hotel might this be that is opening? The Radley. The Radley Hotel is named after the mental institution that used to be in its place. Yeah. Due to the excessive news vans at their school, Arya actually tries to ditch school and goes to the SEPTA. And at the train station, she sees Jason, who, again, she had a major crush on back then. And she hasn't seen since his family moved out and he used to go to Yale. But I guess he transferred schools. Now his family's staying at Yarmouth. And, she sees him. They have a little flirting thing going on. And listen, I get it. Listen, Jason, is he attractive? Yes. But he's also 5 years older, and Arya's a minor, so I don't like that either. And then Jason runs out of the train station after he sees the news that's Ian's body was a hoax. He's probably not dead, and these girls are liars. And he runs out, and then after that, Arya's like, I really have nothing better to do. I should probably go back to school. And she does. It has a baby shower because if you remember, she's pregnant. And Hannah shows up, and I will discuss later why she shows up in her chapters. But for now, just take a guess. Why do you think she's there? I bet you'll never guess. Inside of the house, Arya sees Jenna. And remember, last time they talked, Jenna revealed that Allison and Jenna planned the Jenna thing together, and they had bonded because Allison had also had sibling problems, and she didn't really elaborate what this was. So Ari tries to ask her. In response, Jenna kind of runs away from her. She's like, I should have never told you that. Suspicious. They kind of assume it's about Jason, but they're not sure how, because they remember though Jason was a little weird and brooding, he was also fiercely overprotective over Allison, so they're not sure like what's going on. Though the whole like, oh, Allison having sibling problems kind of makes Emily warn Arya about Jason. She's like, Jason's probably weird. While Arya's like, well, Allison was the type of person to lie to get something her way, so maybe she was lying. Anyways, so she goes to Yarmouth to like fully confidently hit on Jason, and he like appreciates that. He's like, ooh, confidence. And it's like, follow me with your car to this bar in Hollis that she did not know existed. She's like, and I know all the bars in Hollis. And I'm like, anyways, they are, he admits that he did know she had a crush on him. He mentions this incident where like he saw her waiting outside of his classroom and her eyes lit up when she saw him. Like he said he saw that, and I'm just thinking, like, if a crush of mine ever said, yeah, I knew you had a crush on me, your eyes lit up when you saw me, I would I'd walk onto oncoming traffic. No. No. Never. But I guess I'm just not Arya. Before he leaves to go back to class, Jason kisses Arya, but again, he's 21 and she's 16. He leaves though. A sends Arya a message going like, ooh, Big Brother has a deep dark secret he's hiding from you. Arya disregards A's message anyways and Emily's warnings and goes on a date with Jason at rock climbing, because he's like, I'm not like other guys. I don't go to movies and a dinner. No, I go rock climbing. I don't care how hot a man is. I'm not going rock climbing. I don't know why she does either. It's their first time. She's not into it. She doesn't like heights. Girl, I would have been out of there. I don't care. Anyways, when they're rock climbing, she does talk a little bit about Allie, and she's like, it feels awkward. Like, I really should have mentioned her. And he's like, no, you can talk about Allie with me. Like, I think people don't bring her up. They kind of try to pretend like she doesn't exist. Like, they're afraid to bring her up. And I think it's okay to bring her up. And then, so she tries to invite him to the opening of the hotel. And he sees the invitation. He's like, really? Are you joking? And like he runs away and she doesn't know what happened. After running out of another diner while on a date with Isaac, gets yelled at by Jason for scratching his bumper, even though it's like very minuscule. It's barely noticeable. It really might have not been her. And like he's overreacting for sure, and he like almost tries to punch her. After one of Emily's swim practices, she goes over to Isaac's house, and when they go downstairs, they see that his mom is there, even though she was supposed to be there at 7 and it's 6. And Isaac's like completely confident in the way that men are when there's no evidence they should be, about the fact that, oh yeah, no, my mom definitely didn't call us. Like, oh, we were so slick and subtle. But Emily notices that his mom is acting weird and suspicious. And then Isaac's like, oh, you should come over for dinner tomorrow, babe. And she does. Before she shows up for dinner, Emily actually meets with the liars to discuss the A messages, and Hannah reveals that she actually changed her phone number and phone. She got an iPhone. Goodbye, BlackBerry. Welcome, iPhone. She got an iPhone to avoid getting messages from A, and it actually works for her. She, weirdly enough, does not receive any messages from A. I thought she would, because even Emily's like, well, A has other ways of sending us messages, because really, they've gotten like emails and like physical letters before. But no, Hannah receives nothing. I guess she was right. I guess her logic worked out for her, because she receives no messages. The girls kind of consider investigating what's happening, because they're not fully believing that Ian killed Allison, and also they're like, Ian was definitely dead. We saw that man. He was practically looking like a cast member in Corpse Bride. not their exact words, like, should we investigate? They mostly consider this because this new nouveau is literally begging, pleading on their knees, asking them to investigate what happened to Allie. Like, it's actually really desperate. Like, this A is like, please solve this mystery, or else, please. It's actually like insane. Like, this A doesn't threaten them anymore, besides going like, investigate this or else. What? Girl, call the cops. Anyways, when Emily shows up to Isaac's house for dinner, she mentions like she feels like his mom is being weird and shady, like under her breath and stuff. I mentioned Isaac's dad owns a catering company, and he will be catering the opening of the Radley Hotel, so he invites, like, Isaac invites Emily to be his date to the party. And then after dinner, Emily tries to be courteous and does the dishes at their house, and finds a picture Isaac's mom took of Emily and Isaac when they were going to the gala at the Hastings house, except in the picture Emily's head is cut out. Is that not behavior a jealous ex would have? For another swim practice, Emily, her sister, and her two swim mates go to Applebee's, where Emily finally comes out as bi and talks about dating Isaac, and her sister and her friends are actually very supportive of her. And while they're at Applebee's, Emily gets a call from Spencer to talk about her note from A. And after this discussion, somebody comes out of the toilet stalls, and it's Isaac's mom. And she tries to be nice to her, but this bitch, Isaac's mom, basically is like, you are a slut, you are trash, you are not welcome in my house, you some of those are her exact words. No, she really does go like, you are trash. And Emily kind of just runs out of there, and Carolyn comforts her. And Emily receives a photo from A of Wilden leaving the confessional, going like, ooh, someone's got something to be guilty about, huh? Also irrelevant, but it might come up later, so I should probably mention. A honestly keeps sending Emily so many messages, like photos. And one of the photos she sends when she's washing the dishes is a picture of Allison, Jenna, and Naomi. And she's like, something here doesn't belong. Figure out what. I thought it would come up later. It does not at all. I don't know what that means. I don't know why she sent. I'm gonna assume she. That A is a woman. I think it's a good bet. Anyways, I don't know why A sent Emily that. I don't know what it has to do with anything. I don't know what the meaning of it was. They don't mention it again. They keep talking. They're like, oh yeah, I guess that's a crazy photo. But no clue what that's supposed to mean. Later, Emily tells Isaac about his mom's behavior, and Isaac, like a true mama's boy, is like, you're crazy. That didn't happen. My mom loves you. He's like, oh my god, my ex-girlfriend last year did this exact same thing. And he's like, but no, she admitted she lied. So are you lying? And she's like, what? No, seriously, what? She literally goes like, your mom cut my head off out of a photo. And he's like, I think you're lying and you're crazy. Go date your mom. Go date your mom. After this breakup or whatever, Emily gets a message from A telling her to go to her first love's house, which, lucky for her, that could be Maya or Allison, and either way, they live in the same house. And if you remember, Jenna Kavanaugh and Allison were neighbors. It goes over to Allison's old house. She sees Jenna arguing with someone, who runs out but sees her in her car. Who is this person? Jason De Laurentiis. Now we get to our main girl of book 6, the cover girl, Hannah Marin. After the whole herpes thing at the gala, they're all still hanging out, Hannah, Kate, Naomi, and Riley, because apparently Naomi and Riley just saw the herpes thing as what it was, a power struggle between two queen bees. So Kate kind of says like, oh, she has her eye on someone, and that someone is Arya's little brother, Mike Montgomery. Mike has actually come up a lot, I've said, in Arya's chapters. He's actually even had conversations, if you could say that, with Emily. I've said it was suspicious that he hasn't come up in Hannah's chapters because Hannah should be the one he should have the most interactions with, I would have assumed, because Hannah is friends with Noel, and Noel and Mike basically are conjoined at the hip. So it's weird that they haven't interacted. I think the only interaction they've had so far is when he showed up to her, I was gonna say hotel room, no, hospital room. But I guess that streak had to be broken. I'm gonna be honest, I have not been fond of any appearance of Mike so far. He is a very quintessentially 2007 teenage boy. Weird comments against Emily, sexualizing every girl. No. Anyways, it so when Kate is like, oh yeah, I should probably like, hit on him or whatever, Hannah gets weirdly territorial. She's like, hold on. That man is obsessed with me. Get a reveal that apparently in 6th grade, when she was having a sleepover with the girls at Arya's house, she I think she was going to get water, like to the bathroom, and Mike grabbed her thinking she was Allison, but still kissed her, and that was her first kiss. And she was flattered because she was like, oh, I was fat and ugly, so I was flattered. And I'm thinking the bar is in hell, right next to Allison. It's just rolling around there, huh? Well, the time capsule event that usually happens in September got pushed to January because of the whole Allison's body being found thing. And they were like, oh, it would probably be disrespectful if we did it in September, but they weren't going to cancel this damn event. Anyways, without looking for it, while they're at Steam, Hannah finds a piece of the flag, and she uses it as a way to hit on Mike. And she's like, I'll give you something better than this flag. Me. I'm not kidding, she says that. And she's like, do you want to go out Saturday? And he's like, oh, my father's mistress is having a baby shower. I told you, I bet you couldn't guess why she was at that damn baby shower. And so she's like, oh yeah, I'll go to the shower. And he apparently also invites Kate. And Kate copies Hannah's gift. After the baby shower thing, Hannah still goes on a date with Mike. He's like, let's go shopping, and she's like, that's hot. Understandable. And then like they go to this restaurant, and we find out the reason that Mike and his girlfriend Savannah broke up was because she thought he was too obsessed with popularity. And Hannah's like, oh my god, that's what Lucas said to me. Unfortunately, Mike and Hannah really might be a match made in hell. Like, awful. But yeah, perfectly matched, I fear. But I guess even though the date goes well, Mike had double booked, because when she's the one that drives him, because he does not have a driver's license, because he's like 15 and she's like 16. Anyways, when they return to his house, who's on the porch waiting? Kate. If it helps at all, Mike got Hannah flowers when they went on that date, and not for Kate, so if that helps. She's when Hannah's left alone on the porch, she mentions feeling like someone's watching her and the stifling of laughter. And this is actually something that comes up a lot in this book. In book 6, every time the girls are left alone, like outside, even in their backyard or porch, they mention hearing giggling or laughter of something. Like they're like, oh my god, somebody's watching me. Hannah goes running around Allie, Spencer, and Jenna's neighborhood. It's one neighborhood. And she bumps into Wilden, and Wilden offers to drive her back, and she like takes him up on it because it's like hella cold. And she mentions he's acting weird. She spots a sticker of a fish that says day pass on his car, and she says that looks familiar. She mentions that she saw a similar sticker in the De Laurentiis' car when they drove the girls to Poconos, to their beach house. Anyways, she mentions Wilden drives like very recklessly, and she like is fearful because this man is speeding and reckless, and like he laughs at her being scared. She's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I've been telling you, this man's acting shifty. I liked him when he was dating her mom, but now he's just being weird. And having a dream about Allison is like an airborne illness between these liars, because Hannah also has a dream about Allison. In the dream, Allison tries to use some code words to give hints to Hannah, being like, "Go fish," and Hannah's like, "Hey," and then she's like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was singing it." And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about right now?" Like, these are code words. She's like, "Figure it out, Hannah, figure it out." And Hannah's like, "I don't know what that means." When Hannah invites Mike to go to the rally opening with her, Mike reveals that Kate already invited him, so he tries to set up some kind of a threesome sort of date. And so she goes to the gym where they're hanging out. Like I said, the lacrosse boys all hang out with each other, like they're conjoined with each other. And she's like, me, only me. So he's like, "Okay, then take me to the prom." And she's like, "Okay." Last but not least is my girl Spencer. Though Spencer may not have been the cover girl of this book, and she may have been the cover girl of the last book, her storyline in this book is actually very interesting compared to the lack of a storyline in the last book. I mean, she had a storyline, it just was not that interesting or intriguing. So when Andrew is tutoring her / making out with her, Spencer receives an email from Olivia Caldwell, her birth mother, and she's like, "I want to meet with you, la la la." Spencer's still unsure about being adopted or not. Goes to copy her dad's hard drive with Andrew onto a CD. Very 2007. When trying to use the CD of her dad's hard drive, her computer crashes, and when she tries to tell her mom, like, "Can I call the Geek Squad?" Her mom is like, "Did you even see what happened to our garage door?" Apparently someone spray painted killer on the garage door. I don't understand what this has to do with Spencer. Like, okay, I don't know. And her mom is like really mad, and Spencer's like, "Well, then call the cops." And Veronica's like, "Well, I can't because my daughter's a liar." So I guess Veronica too believes that Spencer and the girls lied about seeing Ian's body. Melissa, who was privy to this conversation because they all was in the kitchen, tells Spencer she can use her old laptop because Melissa is moving out to the townhouse her parents bought her. If you don't remember, when Melissa graduated, her parents bought her a townhouse in the city, but it was under renovation because Melissa kept like changing her mind and stuff, but she like decides to move out because it's all too much for her, and she gives Spencer her computer. Olivia emails Spencer again and sends her an Amtrak ticket to New York City to meet her, and Spencer meets her and notes their like physical similarities, like green eyes and blonde hair, and like even their voice, they're similar. Olivia tells her that she just got married in the Hamptons to this rich guy, Morgan Frick. They're about to move to their house in New York City, but first she'll be leaving for 2 weeks for her honeymoon in Paris. And Spencer's like, "Oh, can I see your apartment?" And she's like, "No, I'm sorry, not yet." And Spencer like really wants to move to New York City to be with Olivia. And she tells Andrew this when she returns, and Andrew's like, "You should be careful." And then when she says she wants to move to New York City, he like runs away crying. And she's like, "Did we just break up?" I don't even know if they broke up. He just stopped speaking to her after that. And it's like, is that how people break up with each other? I've never been in a relationship. Is that how people break up with each other? You just run out of their house crying? Before he runs out crying, though, Andrew is like, "You should talk to your parents about this." And though Spencer doesn't want to, she does try. But when she tries, she notices that her car is missing. She's like, we should call the cops because somebody stole my car. And her parents let her know that they turned in her car back to the dealership, which mind boggles me because people like put a lot of their stuff in their car. So is all her stuff just back to the dealership? Did somebody clean this damn car? And that kind of makes Spencer go like, yeah, I really gotta move out of this damn house. So she calls the realtor because before Olivia left, she accidentally left behind her realtor's papers of her apartment. So she calls the realtor and she's like, can I have an apartment next to my birth mom? And he sends her pictures of this apartment and he's like, you should probably buy this really quick because in New York City this kind of a good apartment doesn't last long. And so when she was copying her dad's hard drive, she found her college fund, which was like $200,000, and she is like, let me use that to move out and escape this damn house. Mind you, A messages Spencer telling her to leave the birth mother thing alone and just keep investigating. Like I said, A is more of a beggar than a threatener. After she like does the apartment thing, she sees somebody in the woods digging for something, and she assumes it's Melissa because she sees this black hoodie with blonde hair coming out. But I don't know why she assumes that might be Melissa. Girl, 90% of this town is blonde. Later, Spencer finally goes to New York City to see this apartment she bought, but wouldn't you believe it? It was fake. The apartment number doesn't even exist. Like, the taxi driver's like, ma'am, that place would be in the Hudson. What are you talking about? So she tries to go to the apartment place that Olivia lives at, and they're like, nobody named Olivia lives here. And she's like, oh my god. And then she realizes that Morgan Frick is the two names of the museums. And when she opens her college fund that she used to pay for this apartment, she sees that the number is down to 0. So she was scammed. Now, we finally go to the big event, the party of book 6. The opening of the Radley Hotel. By the way, just a little detail, not all of the rooms of the Radley were renovated by the opening, so some of them are still like the institution. So when Hannah goes to Kate to be like, I want our bet, he's dating me, Kate kind of reveals that she made this prank with Naomi and Riley because she knew that whoever she tried to go for, Hannah would try to steal them. And Hannah's like, I don't get it. I win, you lose. What? And Mike overhears this. I kind of imagine that moment as like a little, he's right behind me. And he's like sad. Oh, runs away. Everyone's running away dramatically in this book. And then she finds Noel, and Noel's like, Hannah, I could kiss you right now. She's like, apparently, Noel and Mike had a similar bet about which one, Hannah or Kate, could Mike get to take him to the prom. I guess Noel bet on Hannah. I don't know if that's a good thing. No clue. So, Hannah kind of realized like they were both playing a bet on each other, and they're kind of like, yeah, we should probably just date. Cause she's like, oh yeah, I guess we're out for the prom, and he's like, we don't have to be. We can go to the dance floor to dance together. And Hannah notes that Riley and Kate are smiling at her, so she like smiles back. I guess they're happy for her. Arya gets an email from Jason after he runs away that's like, come meet me at Yarmouth, let's discuss, la la la. And when she reaches there, a dog chases her into Jason's apartment, so she has to go through his window. And when she's in the apartment, she picks up his yearbook. And in the yearbook, she sees devil horns on Ian, and then there's a message written, like a yearbook message from Darren to Jason, basically being like, oh, I can't believe what Ian did, oh, we'll get him back, or something like that. And that leads us to realize that Darren and Jason are besties in high school, and also that they did not like Ian. And then Jason sees her in his apartment, and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, you emailed me. And he's like, and then he kind of yells at her to leave, and she like is like, whoa, anger. And after this, because Emily had been constantly warning Arya about Jason being dangerous, she invites Emily to come to the rally so they can talk. And Arya arrives late because she stops at Allison's cemetery, so Emily's there alone for a few minutes. And she bumps into Maya, who is low-key hitting on her, which I have to say, I like Emily. Listen, I like Emily, but that's because Emily didn't cheat on me. Maya needs to stand up. Girl, that girl cheated on you. You need to stand up for yourself. Anyways, she's like, "Oh, did you and your boyfriend break up?" And Emily just runs away upstairs. Like I said, some of the rooms were not completely renovated at the Radley at the opening of the hotel. So, she finds this old ledger of patients or people coming in and out of the Radley, and whose name is signed in from from the time Allison and Emily were in the 3rd grade until the first week of 6th grade when the flashback of the book happened. Jason. So she's like, oh, he must have been outpatient. Isaac finds her and apologizes to her. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you. I did find the picture of you with your head cut off in my junk drawer, and I confronted my mom and she lost it. My bad for not believing you and calling you a liar. And he's like, can you forgive me? And she's like, no, not right now. Like, this just happened yesterday. What the hell's wrong with you? So she takes the ledger and runs away. And while Mike and Hannah are dancing on the floor, there's a song playing. And Mike goes to talk to the DJ, and when he comes back, he's like, it's some Elvis Costello song. Finally, her dream starts making sense. Elvis Costello, who was singing it. I didn't realize I was singing it. Go fish. So basically, she finally makes sense of what Allison in the dream was trying to tell her. Darren had the fish sticker. That's what she was talking about. Go fish. You need those day passes to go to the Poconos. And when he was dating her mom, she remembered Darren singing the Elvis Costello song. And there's a lyric that's like, Allison, I know this is killing you or something. And she remembers that, and he was like, oh, I didn't realize what I was singing. And she's having her little Sherlock Holmes moment. She's like, and she's like, I have to go find your sister. And Arya shows up, and Emily tells her about the ledger and Jason, and Arya's like, well, yeah, Jason did just freak out on me, and then they're like, oh, we should probably go tell Wilden. And then Hannah shows up, and she's like, we can't tell Wilden. And she tells them about what she found out, and she's like, and then when he was driving me back in his black car, because it was not the squad car that he drove her back on, the sticker was on this black car of his, she's like, I'd seen that car before. When they showed up to steal Allie's flag, there was a black car that drove past when they were leaving. And also, the flashback from book 5, when Jason had confronted Ian was like, well, I guess that's what it'll take. He left in a black car that drove him away. And they were like, that was Darren's car, because they were best friends. And they kind of like start piecing stuff together, and they're like, Ian did say the cops were hiding something. And I think I forgot to mention this, my bad. When Melissa let Spencer use her computer, it was still logged into Melissa's IM, and she received a text from Ian being like, they will find me, they're framing me, la la la. And they were like, who's they? And they're like, they, Jason and Wilden. Hannah had found the flag for the time capsule, and they are allowed to decorate these flags, which doesn't make sense because what if someone steals it? Anyways, Hannah has been carrying this flag around with her to make sure nobody steals it, like in her like little chain Chanel bag, and then attached to her belt. And in an abrupt change of subject, Arya asks Hannah why she has a picture of a manga frog on her flag, and Hannah had actually decorated her flag as an homage in Allison's honor of the flag that was stolen from Allison. And mind you, Arya has this flag, and Arya's like, Hannah, Allison's flag did not have a frog. She had no animals of any kind on her flag. And Hannah's like, no, when she told us, like when we met her that day in the flashback, she told me what she did, and I wrote that down exactly as I got home. And then she's like, wait, how do you know what's on her flag? We never saw it. It was stolen. And she's like, I have the flag. Jason gave it to me. And they're like, and then they receive a message from A, basically threatening to Spencer. Because she's in the barn with Melissa's stuff, Melissa left very abruptly. She leaves through Melissa's old notebooks, and you know how notebooks friends would like have conversations with each other back then? So she finds a conversation between Melissa and a friend of hers where she talks about kissing Jason. In the flashback, in this book, before Jason like runs out the house with the flag, apparently, he sees Ian and Melissa in the hot tub next door and like kind of is like glares at them. And Spencer mentions hearing Melissa saying he'll get over it. And I guess this meant because Jason had a huge crush on Melissa when they were in high school, and Melissa had kissed him, and then started dating Ian. Immediately, Hannah and Emily come into the barn, and they're like, oh my god, Spencer, you're okay. And they fill in Spencer on what happened, what they had figured out. And they're like, we have to IM Ian again, and we have to find out what happened. And they're like, Ian, say their names. Who are they? Who are you talking about? And he confirms that he was talking about Jason and Darren. That's who the they he was scared of. And this kind of leads Spencer to think that the two blondes that Ian was talking about, she put Ian at the scene of the crime, but she was like, because Ian was also blonde. She was like, but the blonde could have been Jason, because at the time this happened, Jason had very long hair. And originally Jason and Darren had an alibi that they were in the Poconos, but apparently Ian was the only one that knew that they were back that day because he saw them, and that's why they were framing him. And in that moment, they smell gasoline, and they hear the flicking of a match. And Arya is not with them because she went back to her house, her new house behind Spencer's house, to get the flag to show them. And so when she takes a shortcut through the woods, sees the shadow of a figure, and she's like sees the fire, she's like, oh my god. And then she sees somebody else in a hood, trapped under a tree branch, going, help me. And she like helps them out and takes them. So the girls escape the barn's on fire, the windmill in Spencer's backyard's on fire, and they see Arya and this person in a hood, and they're like, oh my god, are you okay? Who are you? And then this person's hood comes off, and they come face to face with someone whose face they did not think they'll see again. Allison De Laurentiis. That is it for book 6 of the Pretty Liars series. I'm actually really excited for book 7. If this is how they reveal that Allison is alive or something, this will be a much better way than they did it in the show. I gotta appreciate that Hannah's method of getting a new phone number and phone actually worked, and A did stop messaging her. Like, this A is so lazy. They really said, girl, I don't have the time. No time. Also, this A is so weird because they're not even threatening them with their own secrets. They're just like, I'm gonna kill you if you don't do it. So anyways, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is like a mass hallucination, or did they actually see Allison? Do you think Ian is dead? Answer my questions. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on this new journey, this new arc of the Pretty Liars series. Thank you for watching. Au revoir. Hope to see you again.